Hi, my name is Pernille Lauritsen, and I'm a founder of a school of transformation and personal development called Mindjuice that has trained thousands of students in the last 10 years. One of the subjects I would like to talk about in this video is the subject of empathy and why that skill is such an important skill to train these days. Actually, the WHO has come with a statement saying that they fear that a pretty normal illness we will all experience in the year 2030 will be depression. And the reason for that is that the lack of empathy actually will cause people to feel depressed and alone in life. So first I want to say something about what empathy actually is, because in my experience, lots of people mistake empathy with sympathy, and actually the two are quite opposite in their nature. So sympathy is a way where you meet other people and where there is a certain level of agreement. So let's say I go to a friend and I tell them about a bad experience I've had in my life. It could be that someone at work has frustrated me, and my friend will say to me, "Oh, I can really get that. That makes sense. I would also get frustrated if a friend said that to me. That sounds like a hopeless situation." So meeting someone with that kind of sympathy will actually strengthen me in the experience of that there is something wrong and that it's a bit hopeless to ever change this situation. Unfortunately, that kind of sympathetic listening or communication is considered a good way to be a good friend or a good colleague. Now, empathy is quite opposite. It's in a way more clean in its nature. Empathy is the skill of being able to identify the feelings, the state of mind and emotions somebody else is going through without buying into their story. So let's say again I come to my friend and I tell him about this experience at work where I'm frustrated with a colleague, and my friend will listen to me and really try to tune into my experience, but without judging my experience, without agreeing or disagreeing, but more being curious about getting my experience, and then ultimately challenge my experience. Say, okay, so I hear you had this experience at work, but I also know you and I know your values. So how are you going to create a situation where there is balance between what you experienced at work and what you stand for as a human being? So that means that my friend will support me with his empathetic way of listening. He will support me in actually being more true to my values. Now, I think the biggest challenge for empathy is it really takes some time to get somebody else's situation. So in these times where we are rushing around and we don't really have time for anything, it's difficult to create enough time to have empathy when we listen to other people, because you really gotta listen, you gotta ask questions, and you ultimately gotta get into somebody else's world with a humble attitude. So rather than thinking, "Oh, I know exactly what you mean," it would be more appropriate to say, "Tell me a little bit more about that, because I'm actually not sure I understand you completely." So an advice can be, try on asking more questions. When you listen to a good friend or a colleague, try to be curious, but don't be too quick in thinking you know exactly how somebody else's situation is, because it really takes time to know, or even to get to know somebody else's world. So that's the first little step in having more empathy in your life. Thank you.